I remember just thinking, like, coming to when I first moved to New York, I moved to Hollywood, thinking there's a lot of people that have not been raised in anything. How do they get through a day? Like, I am constantly having conversations with God in my head.
In an industry that often rolls its eyes at faith, Patricia Heaton stands as an unapologetic outlier, not just because she's a devout Christian, but because she refuses to compromise her convictions for applause. While Hollywood rewards conformity, Heaton brings clarity. And in a time when spiritual beliefs are mocked or muted, she speaks louder, not with noise, but with integrity. So how does a woman like this survive the most secular industry in America? Simple. She doesn't just survive, she shapes it. This is Patricia Heaton, the actress who won't bow to the mob, won't dilute her message, and won't apologize for believing in something bigger.
Yeah, I'm Catholic, and my faith has always played a prominent role in my life. It's the center of who I am, my relationship with God, knowing that He's there even in the most difficult times, even when you don't maybe feel it spiritually or even physically.
You don't hear that much in Hollywood. Someone saying their relationship with God is the center of who they are. Patricia isn't just casually spiritual, she's anchored. And that unwavering core, it shows in how she walks through both spotlight and silence. But this faith didn't appear out of nowhere. It was forged in tradition, family, and generations of devotion. And in the next moment, you'll see just how deep those roots actually go.
Then career. And it is so different from what I notice in Hollywood, where people say, well, if you want to make it in Hollywood, the number one thing you need to focus on is first career, because it's so hard to break in, and then family. And then maybe if you have time just to put it on your checklist, maybe you'll find some God in your life. And you just did the entire reverse. So tell me just a little bit about that.
Well, I am Catholic. I was raised in a very devout Catholic family. My mother was one of 15 children. I have 100 first cousins on my mom's side because all 15 got married and had between 5 and 10 kids. My grandmother was Catholic Mother of the Year for the United States. She got a medal from the Pope.
That's not just cultural Catholicism. That's full immersion. A nun for a sister, mass every day, rosaries, and reverence. Hollywood might scoff at that kind of upbringing, but Patricia calls it her foundation. And instead of running from it like many do, she honors it. She lives it. And that upbringing didn't just stay in church pews, it shaped the kind of art and media she supports. Because next she explains why faith needs to show up on our screens too.
You know, not necessarily preachy, but our faith-infused, God-infused, because I think we're at a time right now in the country where a lot of people are searching for something that they know they can depend on no matter what. And the only answer to that, God, and He's with us.
Faith doesn't have to shout to be seen. Patricia isn't begging for Bible verses on billboards. She just wants God's presence felt in storytelling. In a world where people are drifting, she believes faith-infused stories can anchor them. That's not just countercultural. In today's industry, it's practically defiant. But Patricia isn't afraid of that. She sees entertainment as spiritual territory. And in the next clip, she lays it bare that what we're facing isn't just cultural, it's a cosmic battle.
Right now, in what we're experiencing with a lot of violence and upheaval in our world, to remind people that there is evil in the world, it's a supernatural fight that we're fighting here.
Right, there definitely is a battle between good and evil here on this earth. And
yeah.
While some celebrities dance around the idea of good and evil, Patricia names it outright. There is a supernatural battle happening here. It's bold, it's blunt, and Hollywood hates that. But she's not looking for applause. She's warning us. This isn't just about political division or social trends. It's about unseen warfare for hearts and minds. And in the clips ahead, you'll hear how she's chosen to fight, not with fame or clout, but with conviction and clarity.
Well, you know, I think what we see on social media is not necessarily representative of the people I've worked with in Hollywood. Every day when I go to work, whether it's on Raymond or The Middle or Carol's Second Act or wherever I've been, people are very professional. We are in a very difficult industry, and we all have the same goal of creating a successful show that entertains people.
While social media might paint Hollywood as hostile to faith, Patricia pulls back the curtain. Professionalism still reigns. Her message is clear. Belief doesn't have to breed division. In fact, shared purpose can unify even the most different people. But don't mistake her diplomacy for silence. When something truly matters, she doesn't just whisper it, she leads with it. And in the next clip, she dares to speak about a truth many in her industry refuse to even acknowledge: evil.
So it's an industry that I just adore. I love doing what I do, and I've loved really everybody that I've met. So it's been a joy and a privilege to be in this industry.
Some actors play saints or demons. Patricia lives with an awareness of both. She boldly declares that if God is real, then so is evil. It's a worldview that modern Hollywood often sidesteps, but Patricia leans into it with fearless grace. Her clarity isn't theatrical, it's spiritual. And her courage, it shows up not just in belief, but in public stands that most celebrities wouldn't risk. Because in the next moment, she doesn't just talk theology, she takes a position.
Faith impact your career.
I went to the showrunner and I said, I just need to tell you I'm pro-life. One person said, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen anybody do.
Of all the issues that you feel like Christians should be thinking about, the issue should be Israel?
Our Savior's biological family, the Jewish people, are being murdered. We need to stand.
That's not just bold, that's explosive. But Patricia said it plainly, no script, no filter. Then she turned around and called out the silence on Israel. To her, faith isn't seasonal or selective. It's active, vocal, and visible. She stands for life, for people, for truth. But how does someone stay that grounded under such pressure? In the next clip, she explains the one relationship that steadies her in every storm.
I remember just thinking, like, coming to, when I first moved to New York, I moved to Hollywood, thinking, there's a lot of people that have not been raised in anything. How do they get through a day? Like, I am constantly having conversations with God in my head.
Hollywood can feel like a desert, dry of faith, loud with distractions, but Patricia walks through it in constant conversation with God. That's not performative piety, it's how she survives. While others lean on fame or fortune, she leans on prayer. Every audition, every set, every moment, guided. And in the next set of clips, you'll see even more of how she carries that presence boldly, not just in personal choices, but in how she views the world around her.
Patricia, I'm so glad you're here. So much to talk about,
Yes.
from Hollywood to God to dealing with the God-sized hole in people's hearts right now, and all the work that you're doing. So welcome back to PragerU.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
So I want to start with Hollywood because it's always been a big puzzle for me.
Hollywood may have its loud critics of faith, but Patricia reminds us, most folks behind the scenes just want to do the work. Faith or no faith, they show up, stay professional, and get the job done. But Patricia, she's not just clocking in. She's asking, why can't faith-based content also be excellent? If we're going to talk about God on screen, shouldn't it be with the same quality and care Hollywood expects from everything else?
Yeah.
And it wasn't particularly sophisticated.
It was cringe.
Yeah, it was very cringe. Thanks. I didn't want to say that, but now there's two of us.
It's real talk.
Yeah, that's right. And, so my husband and I, David Hunt, who we produce and direct together, he directs, I produce, we never got involved in any of it because it just didn't seem quality.
For years, Christian entertainment felt like it was stuck in its own corner. Corny scripts, predictable messages, low production value. Patricia didn't want any part of it, but she's not throwing faith out. She's demanding that it step up. She's proof that belief deserves better storytelling. So how does someone like her, stuck between a skeptical industry and a rigid faith audience, even find her place? Well, it turns out that tension has defined her entire career.
There's ways to make content that would be sort of God-infused or values-infused. I think the industry is moving away from saying faith-based to values-based, so that it opens up to a wider audience that people don't feel like they're being preached at. And I think that is all going to be coming outside of Hollywood, but with some studios leaning that direction. They see that there's a thirst for it in...
Too Christian for Hollywood, too Hollywood for Christians. That's the tightrope Patricia's been walking for decades. But instead of falling off, she carved her own lane. She believes audiences are smarter now and faith-based creators need to be too. She's not interested in pleasing everyone. She's trying to build something honest, something sharp, something real. But where does that leave her? Especially when even close colleagues don't see eye to eye.
But you know what? The people on that show are all friends of mine. I love them dearly. And it used to be okay to have different points of view.
It was.
And we need to go back to that. I have hope that we will go back to that because I think things have gotten extreme. I'm more of a centrist.
Disagreements used to be just that, disagreements. Now, they're career threats. Patricia's watched the climate change, and she misses the days when people could simply respect each other. Her love for her co-workers hasn't faded, but the space for opposing views, it's shrinking. Still, she's not bitter. She's hopeful. And in that hope, she sees opportunity. To tell stories that aren't preachy, but still rooted in values that matter.
There's ways to make content that would be sort of God-infused or values-infused. I think the industry is moving away from saying faith-based to values-based, so that it opens up to a wider audience that people don't feel like they're being preached at. And I think that is all going to be coming outside of Hollywood, but with some studios leaning that direction.
Patricia sees a shift coming, not towards louder sermons, but towards subtler truths. Forget the label faith-based. She's talking about content that has soul, that stands for something without shouting it. Studios are starting to realize that audiences crave meaning. They're just tired of being lectured. So how do you hit that sweet spot where story and spirit actually meet?
There's ways to make content that would be sort of God infused or values infused. I think the industry is moving away from saying faith-based to values-based, so that it opens up to a wider audience, that people don't feel like they're being preached at. And I think that is all going to be coming outside of Hollywood, but with some studios leaning that direction. They see that there's a thirst for it in
The hardest part? Living in the gray. Christian producers wanted more Jesus. Hollywood wanted less. Patricia's work was often stuck in purgatory. Too much God for some, not enough for others. But instead of watering things down, she stayed rooted in the belief that people are ready for nuance. She's not interested in easy answers. She's fighting for honest ones. And if that means rethinking how we even talk about faith on screen, she's here for it.
faith-based to values-based, so that it opens up to a wider audience, that people don't feel like they're being preached at. And I think that is all going to be coming outside of Hollywood.
You can call it values-based if faith-based scares you off. That's how Hollywood is learning to compromise. Patricia's not clinging to labels. She's more interested in whether the story has integrity, purpose, truth. If it stirs the soul without sounding like a sermon, even better. It's not about converting people, it's about reaching them. But can that still happen in a culture that punishes belief?
But you know what? The people on that show are all friends of mine. I love them dearly. And it used to be okay to have different points of view.
It was.
And we need to go back to that. And I have hope that we will go back to that, because I think things have gotten extreme. I'm more of a centrist.
Patricia still believes we can disagree and still sit at the same table. She misses when that was normal, when being friends didn't require ideological agreement. Now, with lines so rigidly drawn, her hope is almost radical. But it's real. Because for her, faith isn't about domination or division. It's about connection. And even in the heart of a divided industry, she still fights for that middle ground. Patricia Heaton isn't trying to convert Hollywood. She's trying to remind it of something it's forgotten, that real storytelling needs soul, not sermons, not slogans, just soul. She's walked the tightrope, too faithful for Hollywood, too Hollywood for the faith crowd, but never lost her balance, because her compass isn't clout, it's conviction. And in a world where silence is safer, Patricia still chooses to speak, loudly, boldly, without apology. If that kind of courage matters to you, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. We're just getting started. Now tell us in the comments, do you think there's still room for faith in today's entertainment world? Or is Hollywood too far gone? Let's hear what you believe.